Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Manic Monday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Pewarski. I am coming to you from the East Coast today. That's the coast with the most. I will be co-hosting today's program here on The Rundown, where we do 2A news and conservative views. Craig, how was your weekend?
Actually, I had a phenomenal weekend. I had a film shoot on Saturday in the Bay Area. It was in San Francisco, and it's the first time I've been to San Francisco since COVID. And from the last time I was there, I did not believe that it could be a bigger s hole than it was before, and I was wrong. It's really bad down there, man. It is horrible. Luckily, we were at the Cow Palace, which is not totally in the city, just on the outside, more closer to a little bit closer on the border of San Francisco and Daly City. But dude, San Francisco is just horrible.
How much poo did you get on your shoes?
I did not get any poo on my shoes as I used the interactive map in order to direct me on where not to go.
Poo
Although
free?
I will say this, if you needed to poo, you knew where you could actually go and poo, which is pretty much anywhere in San Francisco.
So the Waze maps in California, or San Francisco, they got toll free. You could select construction free, and then poo free.
Poo free.
You selected
Exactly.
the poo free selection.
Exactly. So then also though, now yesterday was a lot of fun because I got a chance to spend some time with the gentleman he's now retired, but he was the former gunsmith for the California Highway Patrol,
Right.
and at the highway in particular at the academy. Really fascinating dude. Had a lot of history about firearms. Went through his several gun safes. Talked about history of some of the firearms, where they came from, the collectibles, and he had a ton of stories for governors going all the way back from Pat Brown all the way through to Newsom. It was a good evening. It was a good time. I had a really good time
Right.
hanging out with him.
Very cool. Very fun. It's always good when you get to see that the historic private collections. It's always a good thing. He probably had
Well,
every version of every Smith and Wesson issued for 50 years. I bet.
Well, and it's kind of funny because yes, the guns were neat, but the stories were what really made it. Especially
Yeah.
talking about having to deal with legislators and electeds and their staff and their desire to push gun control, and his understanding of the fact that this is just some dumb stuff. They're just idiots. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's typical, right? I've dealt with those guys here on the East Coast before, and yeah, they come out of the Capitol shaking their head, like
Yeah.
why do they even ask me here? What am I here for? Yeah.
Right. But exactly. So now, how was your weekend?
Oh, listen, the boss's work party. First off, we did some. I did the weekly bullet on Saturday, right, with Second Amendment Foundation. Then did some Arms Room Radio on Saturday afternoon. And then from there, we did the boss's party for the law firm that I work with, and I think that ended about an hour ago. It was a very very long weekend, and just like I told you right before we got on the air here, everything hurts. It's like I was in a car accident, and I don't even I was not. I was not. It's just and it's soreness. Now listen, it's nothing to do with. I'll be clear on this. It had nothing to do with alcohol. I've got
Right.
none. There's no hangovers. There's no nothing like that. It's just lots of body aches and pains. Like I should have stretched before going to the party, kind of
There you
thing.
go.
It's just
Dancing too hard. Dancing too hard.
oh boy, yeah. You know how I am with the music. That's it. Yep. In fact, I do remember sitting there with a group of people, professionals, and one of the entertainers that we had there was Pitbull, and the other was Shaggy. They're friends of my bosses, and Shaggy got up there and started singing some of his songs, and he'd do the microphone, like to him, to the crowd, to him, to the crowd, like that. And so every time we go to the crowd, I was singing all the lyrics, and people are looking at me like, "What are you doing? How you know these lyrics?" And I'm like, Why? Why you writing a book? There's no reason. Don't worry about the
Exactly,
answers to those
exactly.
questions. You know?
I can tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Good times. Good times. Thanks to the boss and the firm for putting on that party every year. Like
Well,
2,000 people there. And,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty big party.
Yeah.
That is a very big party, actually.
It's
Well, hey,
very
let's
good
go
party.
ahead and let's
So,
get into today's news, because I think there's a reason to party. Speaking of parties, and that has to do with, well, Build Back Better. So, for those of you who have not been paying attention, Build Back Better, well, it's how shall we say, dead. Joe Manchin has finally come out and said that there's absolutely positively no way that he can support their Build Back Better program. Basically, it's not about building anything back. It's not about building anything better. It's all about massive social spending. And what's, Mike, what's odd about this is that in this article, and this is an article that's actually written there at Bloomberg, they're talking about how surprised and shocked that they are that Democrats, how he shocked Democrats and surprised them with this position. But Mike, we already know that he's already said that he wasn't going to support it if the numbers came back from the CBO and it didn't in fact pay for itself. Now, the CBO came back and they're talking about in this article where the $2 trillion spending bill, but they already came back and said, no, it's not 2 trillion. Number one, it's not paid for. Number two, it's not 2 trillion. It's actually $4 trillion. I'm like, why are they so shocked?
yeah, and this is not like this is news either. The cost of this. You and I have been talking about this for 4 or 5 months since he started trying to push this through. We compared it to the whole, the Trump building the border fence, right? His issue was he was going to make Mexico pay for it. Well, we all know Mexico didn't write the check for the border fence, but based on the president's trade agreements, we had a balance left over after the renegotiation, so that gave the United States the money. Where this was the exact opposite. He said it was going to cost only $2 trillion, and instead of that, savings being somewhere else, coming through because we're going to save the money, it ends up costing double, $4 trillion is what it ends up costing. So it's just another example of Democrat lies, of the left lying to you, telling you that they're going to, give you and deliver to you, and all they're really going to do is take away from you.
Yeah, we know that. We know that definitely to be the case. But once again, you go back to this whole thing, and it's like, there's this attitude. It seems like people act like, well, Democrats act like, well, he should do exactly what the president wants. Like there's an obligation for him to ignore what his constituents want, to ignore what he believes is best for his constituents and the nation, and just give the president whatever it is that he asks for.
More senators, more congresspeople should be like Joe Manchin. They should vote what their constituents want. I've said that for time and time again. I've always thought that I would elect my local congressman over and over, and my local representatives over and over again if they set up some sort of online survey poll. Hey, we've got this vote coming up next week. People of central blah 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 state, how do you feel? And he got the constituents' feel, because he may have been elected by one party up there, but he represents all of his constituents, not just one party. So I think that everybody should take what their state, what their district wants them to do, and that's what Joe Manchin regularly does.
I agree with you to a degree, only disagree in that there's a lot of information that they get and they have access to that we as individual voters don't have access to. What I would want to do is understand a little bit, to some degree of depth, what the priorities of my constituents are, and then make sure that what I'm voting or how I'm voting is in line with those priorities. In other words, exactly I want an elected official who, if I had the same information that they had, they would vote the way I would vote.
Right, and I'm not saying let's give the constituents line for line, vote for vote, or because there's just no way to get that accomplished. But just like if you listen, tell me what your priorities are, what you want done. And I have the votes coming up next month on these topics. What's your priorities to get done?
Well, exactly. And Mike, and that kind of leads us into our next story, because there literally are people out there on the left whether it's Bernie Sanders or it's Charlemagne the God, whoever this dude is, who's questioning, well, who's the real president? They're literally asking this question because Joe Manchin decided that he was not going to support the president's Build Back Better program or his big social spending program. They decided to raise this question. Why, who is this guy? Why does he think he's president? And so you have these folks who think that, once again, he's supposed to just kowtow. In fact, here's Charlemagne. Here's the interview, a brief segment of the interview that he did with Kamala Harris, the vice president, asking her who the actual president is. And I'll just give you the big the initial snippet.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president. It's Joe Biden.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden. And I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
Now, Mike, notice the tactic. Okay, first of all, she felt a need to compare it. So don't act like Republicans, you are not to be taken seriously if you act like Republicans, if you actually ask who's actually the president. And what's funny is what she doesn't get is when Republicans are asking, because we know that senile old Joe is not running things, right? He can't remember if his butt's been wiped. So we know he can't determine whether or not what's going on with the number of these policies. But then the fact that she felt the need to tell us who she was and what her role is. Look, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you feel a need to tell someone who you are and what your position is, then you're probably not that important.
No, we know she's not that important. We get all those internal reports. We see everything that she's been pushed to the side, and that she's not even handling it well. We could see that every once in a while they let her go on a show. And Craig, here's a classic example, and it's exactly how this administration is treating her. She delivers some women votes and some black votes to them. So what do? They stick her on a vote with Charlemagne the God. During and I think it's on. BET is. I think that's where it airs. They've told her place, and that's where it is. They should be. Listen, all African Americans should be insulted with the way this administration treats Kamala Harris. But if you know who Kamala Harris is, you're like, okay, well maybe it's okay just to leave her there anyway. It's she's nobody. And then listen, she's the worst liar in the world too, by the way. You could see her stages of lie, deny, make counter accusations in 10 seconds in this interview. She goes from the laugh, I don't understand what's going on, to the producer in her ear telling her, no, you've just been insulted, woman. To then she starts to say it's not so, and then she starts to come back with all the programs they're doing. So she gives the classic lie, deny, make counter accusations.
Yeah, the vice cackler, is that what they call her?
Yeah,
the vice
exactly.
cackler.
Yep.
Man, I'll tell you.
How would you feel, Craig, if you were put on somebody's ticket and the only thing they let you do was talk to the African American parts of the community?
Well, but we all know that's the only reason that they put her on the ticket. And
they
picked her over Stacey Abrams
wouldn't that be insulting to you?
Because she's clearly not a real serious threat politically.
No, but wouldn't that be insulting to you if they did that to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. And by the way, just to be clear, it's not like the Republican Party hasn't done that.
Oh, no, they've absolutely done it. Listen, they've had their fair share of it, but I listen, and that's typically why when you get a president and a vice president, you go with polar opposites. You go with Northeast versus Southern. You go with Catholic versus Protestant. That's why you put two different in there. But when Mike Pence was the vice president, they didn't let him only talk to the Bible Belt. They had him talking everywhere. Right. They've taken Kamala and said, you get to talk to black people. That's what you get to do. That's what we want.
That's because they'll let her slide on stuff, right? At least I'll at least give Charlemagne the.
Oh, you mean like the OJ thing?
Yeah,
they're gonna give her that. Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going with that one. But
Was he guilty? Hell no. Would you let your daughter date him? Hell no. No.
was he guilty? No. But did he kill her? Oh yeah, he did that. He did that. He did that. But I'm glad he got off. I'm not saying I am. Let's be clear. Those of you who are going to go back and pull a segment and say Craig DeLuz was happy that OJ got off. I'm not saying that. This is a joke.
Well, then we'll go to the Michael Jackson defense. Oh my God, he's the greatest guy ever. Did he molest them kids? No. Would you let your kids go to Neverland? Fuck no. No. I mean, unless I need the money, you know. I mean, it's
exactly. Okay, moving on to the next story.
Nobody likes the middle child. You know?
Yes, this one involves a good friend of ours. We all know her. She is the mayor of the city of Chi-Town, Chicago, which, by the way, is now hitting over, or almost, well, let's really clarify. It is now currently over 800 homicides year to date. And I will not say her name, but it's over 800 murders. And I think 780 of them are involving or firearm related. Now, Mike, you had a breakdown of some of the stats that you wanted to go over relating to this, relating to Chi-Town. So why don't you go ahead and drop some numbers on us?
I shall. Give me just a moment here. Let me get my split screen back up here. It went to non-split screen. That way I could see you, Craig, and my split at the same time. So let's do this. Let's take this one up here. Here we go. Okay. Yep, just like you said, Craig, currently year to date is 780 shot and killed. But it's a total of 829 homicides. And that may be more than 800 shot and killed. They've got a small percentage where the cause of death was not listed. They just listed as homicide. So, you know, some of those were arson, some were stabbings, and then there's an unknown category on there, like I said, as well. So here's some of the interesting facts when you get down into this that should be really be angering people. Just for comparison purposes, the legitimate numbers of self-defense deaths this year were 4. So 4 people were able to claim self-defense in the killings there in Chicago. So that's what's going on. Most of these are aggravated felonies being committed against people that have not had the opportunity to defend themselves. This should sicken you around the country. Just under 82% of the people murdered in Chicago were black, 14% were Hispanic, 3% white, 1% Asian. Okay, so do you get why this doesn't make the mainstream media every day? Do you get why these numbers don't matter? Because the same reason they stick Kamala Harris with Charlemagne is because that's a black problem. It's not the rest of the country's problem, according to the news media. They don't care. It doesn't sell papers or get clicks for them. Some of these other incidents, average age of those murders, 31. This was really interesting. They give you the multiple victim shooting stats. By far, the hat trick with 2 shot was the number one. 440 incidents of those. The hat trick, 88. But it goes all the way down, Craig, into instances of 6, 7, 8 being shot. And there was 4 times that 8 people were shot, and then 1 time each that 10, 11, and 15 people were shot. So
okay, how is this? 15 people are shot in Chicago. How is this not major news? Those are because don't we call those mass shootings?
I'll tell you why. Because 97% of the victims are minorities. That's why. Only 3% are white.
Well, now, but let's also be clear, Mike, because we also know what the statistics are. Yes, overwhelming majority of the victims are non-white, but we also know that an overwhelming percentage of the shooters are non-white. These are not cops.
Exactly right. Yeah.
These are not white vigilantes. These are not MAGA hat wearing Juicy Smollett attacking Republicans. These are young black men, largely shooting at other young black men.
Let's some other interesting stats they put on here. We'll close this segment out. 37 people shot themselves on accidental shootings. 50 people got shot in the personal regions, the family jewels, and 196 people got shot in the ass.
Yeah, you do realize. So some of that is like, okay, where you decide to carry and your level of trigger discipline.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah, just so
these
you know,
folks need
there
to
was-
learn some trigger discipline.
There were just over 4,400 people shot in Chicago since the beginning of the year. I'm thinking, it's 4,429, but before the next 10 days run out, it'll be over 4,500.
Dude, think about that though, man. That's over 10 a
they'll get over
day.
800 shot in.
That is over
Yeah.
10 people a day being shot.
Oh, I could give you exactly per minute. How many people are being shot. That's one person is shot every 1 minute and 54 seconds. Or excuse me, every 1 hour and 54 minutes, a person is shot, and every 10 hours and 13 minutes, a person is murdered. This is a great website. If you guys don't have this one, you should go to it.
What is the website?
It's called heyjackass.com. Heyjackass.com.
Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up here.
It even breaks down where people were shot in the body. The head, arms, torso, lower body.
All right. Let's pull it up so people can take a look at it real quick.
Okay.
All right, there it is. Heyjackass.com. Wow. Interesting stuff. Yeah, okay. So folks, you got to check out this website. It is exceptionally cool. So it's called heyjackass.com, and this is all Chicago. It'd be interesting if they did this for other major cities, but this is all Chicago. Wow. See, only Mike could find stuff like this. This is good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for sharing.
Anytime. We aim to please here at the Rundown.
Okay, well, hey, let's move on to let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. Okay, next we have state closes bar over COVID restrictions. Now, okay, this is in the state of Washington. And in the state of Washington, you have a particular it was a restaurant. It's called Mackinac. It's in I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of that place, but basically what they decided to do was they didn't shut down during COVID. They said, look, we're not shutting down. We're going to keep our folks safe. And if people decide they want to come and they want to eat, yada, 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 they'll come. Well, the state decided to come in and shut them down. Not shut them down because they couldn't shut down the restaurant, but they did wind up not just taking away their liquor license, but they wound up seizing all of their alcohol. So they showed up, took all of the crates of alcohol, made a big public spectacle of it while they were open for business, and basically shut down their bar because of COVID.
Yeah, listen, now let's be clear now that the owner there, you saw her, the owner there at Mackinac, she's been telling the state and the board and whoever else has been involved in this that she is not going to close down over mask mandates. She's
Right.
going to continue to allow people to come in. She's going to continue to allow people to eat. Listen, it's not a trashy place. They're not in there not doing any cleaning or not doing any preventative assistance, but they are not going to shut down their business over this. They're not going to let some governor, some socialist governor's mandate destroy her business. Well, for the most part, they haven't been able to do anything. I guess there's been 4 incidents where they've actually reported it, and they've gone back and forth trying to figure out, do they have any authority to do anything to her? And they finally realized, oh, well, you know what we can do is we may not be able to take away her license to operate, but we can pull her liquor license. Let's do that. So they pulled her liquor license. Well, this is like going to an Applebee's and there's no tall boys available, right? So how is this going to affect her business? Probably greatly until they figure it out. And I've got a good feeling that, listen, if she's willing to flout some of these mandates and laws and they start doing this nonsense, she just may start people bringing their own alcohol in. Because, guess what? I may not be making a profit off it, but you still get to come in here and you get to eat and she'll find a way. She'll find a way. And one of her big arguments, Greg, is that you could still go to a Mariners game, or you could still go to a football game, and you could buy alcohol there, and you could buy food there, and there's no restrictions there. There's no mass restrictions. Right. There's no social distancing. So you can continue to go to those outdoor sporting events, and they'll do it. Now, for the most part, it seems like Kings County's been left alone, which I found odd. That's normally a nice Democrat base, but I guess because it's so dependent on those businesses to get the tax money from them and keep those cities alive, that they've decided to ignore those. And that's one of the examples she uses. Listen, you got all these places that are doing it, and you don't even step foot in that town. Nope. But here you come out here to Chalele or whatever the name of the town is, and you want to force it out here?
Because in the end, and this is in the end, when we start talking about, when we start talking about businesses that have suffered in the economic downturn relating to COVID, it's not because of COVID. It's because of government policies that have been put in place that have forced businesses to, first they had them spending money in order to make their places COVID safe. And then they went and they spent that money. Then they changed the rules, and then they made people eat outside. So they spent money to make so people could eat outside, right? And then they still shut them down. In other words, it's the policies, it's the political policies that, by the way, haven't worked because it didn't slow the tide. It didn't keep people from getting COVID. In places that had massive shutdowns, the economy, the COVID has spread just as quickly and just as fast as it did in places that didn't shut down at all. But it's all, but the problems that people have been facing economically when it comes to COVID is all created 100% by government policy, by the very policies that these folks are using to shut these folks down. And she's just saying, no, look, if I'm going to go out of business, if I'm going to be in a financial problem, it's not going to be because the government shut me down. Period. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to keep my business going and to take care of my customers. And she has every right to do that.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I'm trying to find. I had a photo. I must have gotten rid of it. When I was in New York, there was a sign in many of the restaurants' windows there that said we're shut down because we're doing our part not to spread COVID. And defined, Craig, what that means is it got a little bit difficult. The governor and the mayor offered us money not to go to work, so that's what we're doing. We're staying home and collecting our money.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Screw the employee, by the way. Don't worry about the employees.
We'll just give them money. We'll make them dependent on the government.
Yep.
Right. Yep. We'll build back better. That's what we'll do.
That's right. Oh, I gotta get my Build Back Better hat in here. That's what I gotta do.
Well, it's funny that you say that because now that Build Back Better is done, I'm imagining that there'll probably be plenty of Build Back Better hats available for sale online now for discounts. Although, truth be told, I never saw many Build Back Better hats.
Not one. And if there were, I guess they would be just like this. They'd be blue background and white print. The opposite of the MAGA hats, right?
Oh. Yeah, this is once again being our parting shot for today. But yeah, Mike, the thing was, and I gotta at least give Mitch McConnell some credit here. What it all came down to with Build Back Better was he said, look, even though a lot of conservatives have issue with the infrastructure plan, with the infrastructure bill, and it really didn't have as much infrastructure in it as Democrats tried to say it did. It's still rated high with voters, and they realized that if they could get that passed, then they would be able to kill the social spending bill. They knew that they could get Manchin or Sienna to not support it. And Joe Manchin, I think, recognizing the polarization of politics and whatnot and everything that's going on, realized what's going on in his state, realized what his voters represented and what they believed in, and they were not going to support this bill that literally, by the Democrats' own words, was going to fundamentally transform the relationship between government and the people, and was literally clearly a redistribution of wealth and an attempt to control many, many other aspects of our lives. It was more of a socialist program, new socialist program, than it was anything else. And he's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, with several $1 million going to foreign governments, by the way, to help fund their programs.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just their civil problems, their civil engineering problems. It was their social problems as well. So
Exactly.
so
Well, hey, Mikey, you're starting to freeze up here a little bit, so let's go ahead and let's get ready to go ahead and close out the program. I think it may be your internet connection, but let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors of the program are Grid Defense, Guerrilla Machining. They provide us with free products that we give away to you guys on Freedback Friday. And the California Republican Assembly. For those of you who are members of the California Republican Assembly, it is renewal time. For those of you who are not members, you need to consider becoming a member. If you're in the state of California, just follow the link in the description of this video. If you're not in California, this is actually a chapter of a national organization known as the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. Check them out. They're fighting for conservative values all across the country. Ronald Reagan once said that California Republican Assembly is the conscience of the Republican Party. So check them out. Link is in the description to this video. Now that you're back, you got any parting words for our folks today? Mikey? You got any parting words for our folks? Nope. Can't hear a word he's saying. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for Manic Monday. Tomorrow will be Taco Tuesday. We will have a great time. Look forward to hanging out with you folks tomorrow. Enjoy the remainder of your day. Peace out. We'll see you tomorrow.